On the very first day of the LGBTQ plus Pride Month, Idaho's ban on gender-affirming medical care for children is facing its first legal challenge. Two families with teenage transgender girls have filed a lawsuit against Idaho's Attorney General, Raul Labrador, Ada County Prosecutor Jan Bennett, and several members of Idaho's Code Commission. House Bill 71 was signed into law by Governor Little on April 4th, and it's supposed to go into effect January of next year, and it would make any doctor who prescribed or helped provide hormone therapy, puberty blockers, or a reassignment surgery to a transgender child, it would make them a felon, and they would face 10 years in prison. Well, for the 15 and 16-year-olds in this lawsuit who are already using gender-affirming treatments, you can imagine the quandary they, their physicians, and their families face. They called it the Vulnerable Child Protection Act, House Bill 71. Well, the plaintiffs in the lawsuit call it unconstitutional because it violates the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment, and it takes away the right of the parents, basically their ability to decide what's right for their kids.
It says explicitly that hormone therapy, pharmacological treatment, pubertal blockers, those are treatments that are fully allowed for all children, right? Precocious puberty, a kid whose growth is stunted, right? They might take any of this suite of medications, but for trans kids, those medications are not allowed.
And that's a violation. That would be, I guess, in your opinion, or the lawsuit's opinion, of the 14th Amendment.
You know, we have evidence in similar cases, right? In Arkansas, we can see that bills like HB 71 are discriminating against a class of persons, right? So it's discriminatory against a class of people based, in this case, on transgender status. But the high court has found already that you can't discriminate based on transgender status unless you're also discriminating on the basis of sex, right? But we know that that's unlawful.
Okay, so what do they want with this lawsuit? Well, they want a preliminary and a permanent injunction put on this law. They want it declared unconstitutional, and they want to keep it from being codified. The law in Arkansas, Amy mentioned, the first state to pass such a ban, did so back in 2021, and that law was immediately challenged. A federal judge blocked its enforcement, and we're kind of still waiting on a ruling on its constitutionality. They passed another one this year in Arkansas, this time making it a civil penalty instead of a criminal one. And it's been kind of a theme we've seen, well, not just here, but across the country, with nearly 200 bills targeting trans people drafted in state houses across the country this past year. The lawsuit points to other Idaho bills that show a trend of discrimination toward the transgender community, like House Bill 509 in 2020, which prevented people from changing the gender markers on their birth certificate. It was signed into law and almost immediately blocked because it already went against an existing ruling that said such a law was unconstitutional. Then this past session, with House Bill 314, they tried to remove books related to sexual orientation and gender identity from public libraries, but that was vetoed. But with Senate Bill 1100, they did ban transgender students from using bathrooms that aligned with their gender identity. House Bill 71 was drafted by the Idaho Family Policy Center's Blaine Canzati, who called today's lawsuit frivolous. He said, "We're deeply disappointed the ACLU would waste taxpayer money and resources by maliciously claiming the Vulnerable Child Protection Act violates the Equal Protection and Due Process Clauses of the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. The ACLU makes a mockery of constitutional law and subverts the original intent of those constitutional guarantees." That's what Canzati said. And he went on to say the law is sound, constitutionally, scientifically, morally, saying such laws protect gender-confused kids. A waste of taxpayer money? Well, the ACLU says it would be an egregious act of negligence to not step in and fight for Idaho's trans youth and their families' rights to dignity, safety, equality, and a quality of life similar to their peers.